Good morning and welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. We're starting our day with one of the great minds and great leaders in automotive retail. Eric Barbosa is here. He's the Vice President of Variable Operations at the Cavender Auto Group. Eric, good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on again, Ted. So looking forward to this interview.
Eric, congratulations to you, first of all. You're everywhere on social media. I feel like not much has changed, okay? But now I think you've taken it to you're going to take it, continue to take it to a whole new level. So, it's just very inspiring to see you. And I know we've got some folks from the Cavender Auto Group here on the show as well.
Yes, sir. Yeah, appreciate that, Ted.
All right. So, what I want to talk to you a little bit about today to open the show is earlier this year, you did I guess, what you refer to as a wage gap analysis of employees at the dealerships, several dealerships that you've been responsible for. So, talk to us a little bit about that. What got you, Eric, to do the research? What brought you to that?
Hopefully I can give her credit, and hopefully she takes it as credit. It was Lori Foster, who I don't know if you know Lori
Yeah.
Foster, but I met her a few years back at a Women in Automotive conference, and we kept in contact. And one day I think I posted something on LinkedIn about how we were, I think striving to get to 40% women representation in our organization. And she sent me a message saying, "Hey, why don't you, do this? Go look at, what impact this may have, and do an analysis." And I was like, "Interesting." And but I wanted to know more for the reasons of, are we aligned? Our pay plans align with positions, right? And not just solely for the gap analysis of male or a woman or a male, right, or a man, but are we aligned? And that actually was the reason I started it. And then I reached out to my HR person there, and we started building this. I say we, she started building this spreadsheet out. That took us a few months to get, but that's how it started.
I could see maybe a public dealer group doing something like this, but you took it upon yourself, without any of that, to start this. And I know it took you a couple months. What did you find, Eric, when you went through all the data?
Some interesting things. One is, if you're working at a dealership right now, it'd be a good idea to go through your pay plans. And so you have a lot of, and for us here, we have 700 in this current situation, 700 employees. I don't know how many
Wow.
managers exactly we have through the organization, but these people are doing pay plans, right? And hiring people. And you got to be very careful if you hire a person that might not have experience and set them here, and then you set somebody else down here, that could cause a problem. So analyzing pay plans and structures was the first thing. And luckily we had a good team there, and they were pretty aligned, and I didn't see any discrepancies there. One or two that we found out just in positions that we need to align and make sure they were the same, basically, in that department. The other thing, in places where we had more female representation, we were at 47%. Uh, there wasn't a real big gap when they had same opportunities, same commission base. What I saw, and I'll say this, the women were outperforming the males in those positions. And I know that's a weird thing to say, but that's we have the data that shows it, it is what it is.
Oh,
And in a few departments, when they were commission based, they were performing at a different level.
wow. Were you able to share this information with your team?
Oh, absolutely. But in our environment, I think we were already. It was normal for us. It now might not be normal for someone else. And again, I think we talked about before about the approach of why hiring more women is a strategy, or giving opportunities to not just women, but people that probably wouldn't consider our industry to try our industry by changing pay plans or schedules. Then you open up and you can get somebody who could be really efficient or very productive with less time.
I think I know the answer to this one, Eric. Has
Yeah,
that been a strategy of yours?
absolutely. Yeah, it's been a strategy, and it's worked out.
Okay. So when you shared it, what did that make you and the team realize once you had all this data?
I think for our staff, it was good to know that we're on the right path. Second, that we need to get that information out, because I think that again, that wage gap analysis sounds negative, and I think it should be used as a tool to find opportunities and not
Hmm.
use it and spin it as a negative thing. It does exist, it's out there, and it could be for different industries. But once you do the research, this is what you should use it for. And it's to align everything and then maybe open up the doors to people that you didn't think you would hire. Because again, constraints in scheduling or pay plan structures that might scare some top talent out there out. And let's put it this way, I think for us having a 50-50 balance was good, and hopefully we can strive. It'll be a little harder with 700 employees, but to get to at least 35% would be good here.
I know yesterday I met with one of your leaders at Cavender Automotive Group, and I know, she was not involved with this study, but it's Allie Peters, okay?
Yes.
And it was the first time she's been on the roundtable. She was on a panel, and we also had her on the weeknight show. And I learned in asking her, because she's been in business for a while, and she worked at a BMW dealership across the way. But I learned she was recruited, okay, by your dealership. So there's been a recruitment strategy at the group you're at now. And by the way, she was very impressed with the way that they went about that. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, and she does a very, very good job, and she heads up the JLR store in San Antonio, and they're very efficient. They're one, if not the top, grossing department that we have in fixed
Wow.
across the board. So she's amazing. Yes.
And she told me that she's like doubled the number of technicians in the last 12 months, and had just added a new service advisor. So back to your analysis that you did, Eric. Did the information that you find, did it change your strategy on recruiting and hiring?
It does not change my strategy. It just makes me be more aware, and it's leading me to make sure I educate other leaders especially in our organization, and maybe people that I interact with in the industry, to take a look at what pay plans are. Take a look at it, and remember who's giving these out, right? Especially if you're not a corporately ran a dealership, maybe family operated. uh, Take a look at those and make sure they're aligned, so there is no discrepancy. And the other one, think about, think outside the box. Like, if you didn't have these constraints, could you acquire this talent, and what does that look like? And test it out, because I think you're going to be very excited about the results you're going to get.
I like how you force us to think different, Eric. Okay. And then, the way we've thought in our business, as you know, historically for years, why is this information, why is this so important, you think, right now?
I mean, we hear it. We're let's talk about just the women part of it, right? We're out there, we're pushing. It's a word out there, right? Women in automotive, women, and not just as a deal, but as an industry. We're trying to attract them to make them feel comfortable in a male dominated space, right? And I don't think it needs to be male dominated. I think it needs to be people dominated. And when you think of that, is that specific group might not be able to, or might not have chosen our industry because of constraints. Remove those constraints, and you will see what they can do. And then again, the profitability would be impacted by acquiring this talent. Again, just scheduling the traditional stuff that we used to do. It's 2023. We
Yeah.
got to think differently.
Yeah. And plus, I would imagine this also helps mirror your customer base, because women are the decision maker and are the customer. And it sends a message if you don't have women represented at your dealership, then the customer sees that.
I just went through it. My wife influenced me on a few different purchases. One of them being a home, the other one being what I drive. I thought I wanted this. She influenced that, but you're right. It'd be good. And my realtor was a woman.
Wow. Okay. All right. So, we've had women in our in dealership, come up through the ranks, but typically there's been a ceiling, right? And we've seen that ceiling maybe in the BDC or
Yeah.
in other areas. But now, we mentioned Allie, fixed ops director. I don't know how many female fixed ops directors there are in the country. We both know there's not enough, but we're seeing more women dealers, all right? Women
Yeah.
general managers. So there really is no ceiling, Eric. And
There's not.
it's going to take the men to help make that happen. I understand that.
Yeah, and break down that barrier where it's the right person for the right seat, regardless. And you're going to see that. I think I said it in the last one that they not only deserve a seat on the table, they deserve a seat at the head of the table if they've earned it. And yeah, I agree 100%.
And, the men need to speak up in the
Absolutely.
room, even when the women are not in the room, right? That, to stand up for these positions. And I know that's something certainly that you are continuing to do and lead the way on.
We have moms. Some of us are fathers to daughters. Think of that, and what do you want their future to look like?
Mhm, mhm. And the idea, the lifestyle of working in a dealership is, you know, you and I know what that's been, okay, over the past, 10, 20 or more years, the type of hours. And I've
Yeah.
seen you open to making changes and schedules and work days and doing that dealership wide. Talk to us about it because there's a lot of learnings that come from that. It doesn't work every single time in every instance. But you've put a lot of thought and a lot of effort into that. I don't know if you want to share any of those learnings with us.
Yeah, I mean, we went back a while back. I attempted, and I will say attempted, a 4-day work week across the board, and we learned a lot from it. It was good work-life balance. I probably did it prematurely at that place, but I attempted it and it felt
Mhm.
good.
I know you
And
did.
we had buy-in. And the best thing is that, the leadership there decided that it wasn't effective. So we didn't just pivot. We made it part of the scheduling, meaning that it was an option. So we made it optional for you to either work a 4-day work week or your standard five, or if you wanted to work 6 days, whatever. We made it an option that wasn't an option before, opposed to going across the board. So we pivoted, but then we also attracted different talent that maybe we wouldn't have had, because now they get that extra Friday or that extra Saturday to spend with their family. And I think work life balance is important. You can be really efficient with your time if you train that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
I learned that from you and another dealer, I think, in a panel that we did, not long ago.
Yes.
Uh, everybody, we're talking today to Eric Barbosa, Vice President of Variable Operations at the Cavender Auto Group. He's in San Antonio, Texas. He is someone who continues to open doors for others in the industry. Um, Eric, last question for today to open up
Yeah.
the meeting. Where does your passion, where does it come from to open up those doors? For people who would not normally consider, being in the retail auto industry.
Because I think I've been around it for so much. I've seen it. I was raised. I think I've told you this a few times before when we've talked, by a single mom who worked really, really hard, and she wasn't. She did everything possible, and I grew up with that competitive nature, and I got it from her. And I also saw that, when she was at a place that maybe it wasn't a good place, what how that affected her as well. So it
Mm.
just always stuck with me. And ever since I've been in the business, I always thought about when I become in a leadership role to do that. And the second thing was actually going to a conference where I felt that, being a male, that I was the minority in the room. And that feeling, I was like, wow, people are feeling that. And if I can, not just for that segment, even Gen Z's, right? If I can build an environment where people can just produce, right, and grow in that environment no matter what, I think that's a winning strategy for any business.
And Eric, the work you've done also, it says VP of Variable Operations, but I see a lot of what you talk about and do and post as well. You've got fixed in there, and I know you've got fixed on the mind. With the shops, and you're very much aware of the opportunities there. So, on behalf
Absolutely.
of the Fixed Ops Roundtable, I want to thank you for being a door opener on the fixed side as well. I understand we have two female technicians who will be interviewed at this event as well.
Yeah, and they're amazing. Wait till you guys get to see that. And yeah, they're great. Yeah, that's going to be a treat.
Eric, on behalf of the Fixed Ops Roundtable, thank you for all you do for the auto industry.
Ted, thank you, and your whole team. You guys are doing big things, and I'm a big fan of you, what you all doing from the industry, for sure.
Eric Barbosa, everybody, one of the great leaders in our industry, Vice President at Cavender Auto Group, here today with us back at the 80s at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.